Where am I? Oh, this is so weird. It's the same room. How do I get out of here? What's that? I should do a review for Infinity Train Season 4 while I'm here. Okay. And welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruben, and this is my review for Infinity Train Season 4, a HBO original. Let me know in the comments below, who's your favourite character in this series so far in the first 3 seasons? I presume you haven't seen the 4th season just yet. Yeah, let me know in the comments below, but for now let's jump into the review. Various people find themselves on a mysterious train with an endless number of cars, each one being its own universe, and they must find a way to get home in this animated anthology series. So if you're new to the Infinity World series, then you probably shouldn't be watching a Season 4. However, if you're here watching a season review for Season 4, then you're probably all on board the train that is Infinity Train. This season is the same as the others in terms of the amount of episodes you get is 10. They're also the same length, so there are 10 to 11 minutes depending on the credits and how much you watch with them. So all of that formula is the same. We also get 2 new protagonists, Ryan and Minnie, and they're accompanied by a belle called Kez. And these 2 guys basically are lifelong friends. We get the first episode where it's basically a montage of them kind of growing up together. They love to play music together. Their kind of dream is to perform live as a band, you know, and hit it big. They have lessons to learn, so they end up on the train, and so their story is about obviously the same as everything. The moral of the story is the things that you need to learn. It's the first time we've seen 2 protagonists land on the train together at the same time, so that's unique. I'm not going to do any spoilers that are going to give away the main plot. To suffice to say, this is a story about 2 main protagonists having to learn something again. They're in the cars, you're having a lot of fun with each of the cars as per usual, because you never know what you're going to get. I think that's probably one of the biggest draws of this series. There's obviously loads of other things going on with this series, but the fact that each train car is different, you're never going to know what adventure awaits you. And Kez, who is a fantastic kind of helper, sort of, is one of those inanimate objects that's animated, that is given a persona that you kind of immediately like a lot. I really enjoyed the previous seasons. I'm going to do a ranking for them. Suffice to say that for me, it's always the side characters or the characters that live on the train to help the passengers that come that need to learn something. It's those side characters that I find more interesting, that I want to learn more about. So in Season 1 we had Tulip, and she needed to learn a few things. She met One, who ended up being the conductor, or the conductor was the mother, and One, yeah, that storyline was complicated, but One eventually found his hole and, you know, ended up sorting things out. But then obviously during Season 1 we have the Reflection, who's MK, and so in Season 2 the story is all about MK and obviously her, another passenger, who they end up having another friend from the train, which is the deer with all the powers.
You can call me MT.
Dracula, or Alan Dracula.
Met my dear Alan Dracula.
Which was fantastic. One of my favorites series. Might be my favorite, I'm not sure. And then Season 3 we have the kids that we met along the way. I think we saw them a bit in Season 1, and then we saw them in Season 2. So the Apex kids that have been looked after by 2 kind of main protagonists that have been in the train for a long time. They are passengers just like them, but they have a different idea of what the train needs. The more numbers you have, the better, apparently.
So when are we taking out that null?
Because I have this idea that the original conductor was the real conductor, and so we have that, and it's all kind of linked in Season 1, 2 and 3. So when we get to Season 4, I have to say that I'm quite disappointed with Season 4. It's not terrible, not by any means. It is a lot of fun, and there is a moral of the story to learn, and there are characters that you're going to like. But there wasn't that kind of heartfelt punch that you get in some of the other seasons. You know, with Tulip, with the Reflection, with some of the other side characters that you end up liking more. When you finally see a Chrome Girl enter the real world, I feel like there's a real tangible longing for her to find herself, to actually be a real girl. It's a kind of a Pinocchio story, which I loved. And then we have the Apex leaders who their story is quite dark, and I'm surprised by this animation how often it takes themes that are really quite dark, even from the first season where we had divorce, and that's quite prominent, and the effects that it has on family life. We have death. They're not afraid to kill certain characters. We have so many themes that are going on in this series, and it's amazing how they're able to capture so much and tell a story that's quite so much like in depth in 11 minutes of animation and storytelling. It's fantastic. It reminds me of stuff like Steven Universe. Hilda has that sort of animation style, but they're able to tell and pack so much in quickly. The thing that I feel like some of this series is missing is that once you build up the characters that your audience really likes, they had this thing where they'll continue in season 1, 2, and 3. It kind of allowed us to fall in love with the characters because we were seeing them again and again. So each season we got to see those recurring characters. The cat is prominent throughout all of the seasons. We have Randall, who's the water entity, who is just brilliant at funny, dry humor. Each of the characters are very well defined, and seeing them crop up in each of the first 3 seasons is great. Unfortunately, in season 4, there isn't a lot of that. There actually isn't a lot of recurring characters. There's a couple that you will recognize, but for the most part, it's kind of new cards. It's set differently, so it could almost be watched as a separate entity away from the first 3 seasons, which made me sad because I think the one thing that really works for this series is joining the worlds together. You're always wanting to know more about the train, and the first 3 seasons told us a lot about it during the episodes. In this one, you get to find out a little bit, but not nearly as much as they were giving us in the first 3 seasons. So the stuff about the conductor, how long it's kind of been going, who was in charge, why there was a different conductor, who was one, how the effects of the train are permanent, so you have to get your numbers down, and you can actually die. You know, there's real world tangible situations that make you go, okay, if they don't get out of this, then they could actually die. Or you could just stay on this train and live for many, many years. And so as we encounter crazy train cars in the first 3 seasons, like the one with the turtles and gravities and no wall, or, you know, any kind of sort of plants that want to eat you, or plants, a whole plant village where they're just like walking around like normal people in different societies. Each cart is its own universe, which is fantastic. So you get some of that in this season, but it takes the first 4 episodes for them to really introduce our 2 new main protagonists. It takes them a while for them to kind of flesh out those characters because we have 2 going on at the same time, and their different lifestyles, the way they work, and we have this battle, and so we get a bit of the quirky characters, but there isn't that kind of emotional, tangible, I think, feelings that we normally had for the first 3 seasons. So as much as I enjoyed those 3 seasons, this one, it took me a long time to start getting invested. And there was a moment where I was like, okay, I'm on board now, because I think it was episode 5 when something happens, an action moment that kind of harks to the rest of the world. I was like, okay, this feels familiar, this feels right now. They're kind of going back into the situation that they needed to. This is the arc I'm hoping they're going to follow. But they don't follow that. It only kind of crops up now and again. There's a little bit tangible moments where if you look carefully, if you listen carefully, you can find out how it's relatable to the train itself. But for the most part, it is just these 2 guys that need to learn to communicate with each other, and over the years how they've built up these kind of defenses and things that have gone wrong and made the wrong choices, and now they're wishing that they could have done other choices, and the train cards are helping them differentiate that and break it down as per usual, you know, the moral of the story, and learning little bit by little bit, and the numbers are going down. That is all in there, but it just feels like it's detached somewhat from the first 3 seasons, and that makes me sad. I really hope they kind of go back to that formulaic of reminding us who the characters are, some of our friends that we've seen before, and drawing us more into the world of the train car, giving us more history and more ideas of what actually makes the train car tick, who made the train, you know, who designed it, what species was it from, what actually is its purpose other than to trap a whole bunch of humans. You know, the 3rd season we saw the humans, how they have film reels in their head, and they're able to trap that and use that like a projector and help us, you know, learn from it. We get sucked in. There's this whole kind of mechanical matrix style conveyor belt system that gets hundreds, looks like maybe thousands of humans on the train card. So there are loads of people that are learning stuff, but we don't know much more than that, but we want to. Obviously, the season 4 doesn't give us that. So the voice casting in this series has always been awesome. From people like Kate Mulgrew, who's the cat, Ernie Hudson, who's Atticus, Lena Headley, who's Amelia, Bradley Whitford, who is Agent Steve, and then one of my favorite, Diana Delano, Tuba. I don't have any like massively favorite characters that stood out to me other than the Belle in season 4. Tuba, I was so surprised what happened with Tuba, and I always thought Tuba was going to come back, and I was like, wow, they really killed off Tuba like that. So they stick with like there's consequences, which is great, but it just didn't quite feel like that in season 4. So season 4, I enjoyed it. The characters are fun, but it doesn't have the same punch and emotional feel that the first 3 seasons have. Who's your favorite character in all 4 seasons once you've seen them? Which is your favorite season? Let me know your ranking. I really loved the first season, but I think season 2 really jumped into kind of expanding the lore. So Infinity Train season 2 is probably where I'd start. Number 1 then, because of that original idea. It's really great. Reminded me of Snowpiercer but mad. And you know, each cart is their own world or own universe, which is great. The characters in it, so season 1 we obviously had 1-1. Season 2 we had the amazing deer, which was just hilarious, which is probably why it's my favorite. So 2, 1, then 3 and 4. That would be my ranking. Let me know yours in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.